There are several types of water treatment water may need to be usable or presentable at the point of use. One of the basic and most important is the neutralizer. Many areas of the United States have a pH lower than a 7. If you remember from science class, anything below a 7 is acidic. When this happens, in the case of your water supply, it can cause corroded pipes or fixtures. There are several ways the pH can be corrected. The method we are using here today is running the water through a calcite bed. Depending on the severity of the acidity, the tank has to be properly sized so that the water touches the calcite long enough to bring the pH to a 7 or above. This has to be calculated by investigating the highest possible usage in the house and match that with the flow constraints for the filter itself. That's determined by the manufacturer. Part of this calculation also figures in the amount of water usage over a period of time, so the service of the filter isn't overly frequent. Today we are showing you how to service the neutralizer. We try and size the tank so that it happens only once a year, but some customers have a high volume of use and it needs to be as often as every 6 months. The first thing we do is test the water to see what the pH is before we start the service. If it is 7 or above, that is fine, but if it's below 7, we will know to service it sooner the next time. We then start the backwash cycle on the automatic filter head. This is to eliminate any sediment on the top of the bed of calcite and just to see if the filter is functioning correctly. Every manufacturer has a different way to regenerate their filter, but if you start the backwash, you'll hear the water flowing and you'll know that it is in backwash.
And Steve, can you visually see anything for the backwash with a bright flashlight in that particular unit?
You might be able to see, if we have the lights off, you can see it, but the mineral level is right here. And typically when it's in backwash, you'll notice that the mineral bed itself will start to lift, showing that it's really flowing the water and cleaning itself.
We usually backwash the filter just for a few minutes to begin with to remove any sediment that is on the top of the filter media. Now it's time to service the filter. While it's still in backwash, we unplug the filter and turn the filter on bypass. This also is going to be, depending upon the type of manufacturer, different in many cases. You will know that your filter is depressurized and on bypass when the water stops flowing. Always throw a towel on the floor in front of the fill port. The fill port is never directly on top of the filter, so you always get a cup or two of water that drains out when you open the fill port plug.
I want to really undo this and
Go ahead and turn that off. Now open the fill port. You should have no pressure, but you will get a little water from the fill port, and that's what the towel is for. Stephen is now removing some water from the filter so that when he replaces it with calcite, it will not overflow. Once the fill port is off, you need to have a measuring tape or yardstick to see how far down the calcite bed is. Remember, calcite doesn't need changed, You just need to add more each service to bring it up to the appropriate level. We try to only fill the tanks to within 20 inches of the top. This allows room for when the filter backwashes for the calcite to be fluffed or broken up without lifting up so high that it gets into your plumbing. To add calcite to your filter, you need the appropriate size funnel. If you don't have one, you can just pour it in with a flexible cup. This goes a lot faster than you think, but definitely the funnel's better. Oh, yeah. Once the calcite is in the tank to the appropriate level, you can replace the fill port. We usually use a little silicone grease to make sure that it goes in smoothly. Never use Vaseline, as this makes the O-ring swell and disproportionate. Once the plug is hand tight, plus a quarter turn, you are ready to introduce the water back into the filter. Remember, you left the filter on backwash when you unplugged it, so it will be on backwash when you open the bypass back up. We slowly open the bypass. We usually open it about halfway, so the new dry calcite won't float up and into the plumbing. Leave it running for half speed for a few minutes, then plug the unit back in. It should still be in backwash mode and have time to finish. If you'll notice, some filters are opaque, and you can check the level with a flashlight. This is not always the case, but here you can see the level is down to the 20 inches we filled it to. After a few minutes on half speed, open the bypass fully to allow the filter to finish the backwash cycle. Once you've allowed the filter to backwash on full speed for 5 minutes, you are ready now to plug your filter back in and advance the cycle to rinse. Skip ahead to the rinse cycle on your filter to settle the bed and clear the water up. I usually let it rinse for its full amount of time so that it makes the water as clear as it can be when I turn it back onto the house. Once you are done rinsing, you should make sure the clock is set for the correct time of day. Your filter should already be programmed when and what time of night to backwash. Your filter is back in service. It is nice to recheck the pH to make sure you are above a 7. This is a little tricky because you have been using the water at a high volume with no break in use for contact time. You should wait 5 or 10 minutes before you recheck the pH.